Hey, how's it going? Still adjusting this thing. There we go. Yeah, Big Lenny. I can see that's a troll account. I think that, like, what I saw from it, because I just saw the recap on YouTube and stuff like that, right? So I was seeing some of that. Hey, how's it going, Martin? Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust this thing, because this thing, for some reason, is not really working that well here. Okay, great. You can see me in the mirror in the background. So basically, what I think is that Big Ramy, you know, basically made Phil look like a kid, honestly. I can't believe how big Ramy was. I know this is a natural bodybuilding channel, but it is kind of fun to sometimes discuss some of the stuff that's going on in the sport, even if it isn't, you know, in the natural bodybuilding realm, right? Because nobody seems to know what's going on in that realm anyway. Sorry, I'm just adjusting this thing here. Just let me give you a second before it kind of goes. But yeah, Ramy, like, honestly, if Ramy had more detail on his back, he would have just absolutely ate Phil for breakfast. Like, I mean, he ate everybody. I mean, now the thing is, does he have, okay, so is Michael Hearn natty, Mr. Panda? I think that there's a possibility he is, to tell you the truth, because you got to remember, like, I know how strong I was before I dislocated my shoulder and started playing hockey and everything like that. And you have to take this into account. Like, I had a few injuries and stuff, but Mike never really had injuries. He had this genetic sort of indestructibility going on, so he never really got injured. So judging by his height and, you know, the amount of weight that he can carry on that frame, the lifts that he's doing are very believable. You know, I was doing about 20% less, but the thing is, I'm smaller. I'm a way lighter guy, right? So yeah, I think it's definitely possible that he is natural. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if he is, because I did actually work out with Michael Hearn one time, actually twice, in Gold's Gym in Venice. And yeah, he's a strong dude and he's pretty nice and stuff. And anybody that's been around the sport for a long period of time will say that Mike never really went up and down drastically a lot. He always was consistent. So that seems to be in alignment with a natural guy, right? So again, I don't know for sure. I mean, you can go ask him. I'm sure he'll, whatever, not even answer. But the bottom line is that who knows, right? Really. So hey Cameron, how you doing, man? Yeah, I just decided after my workout in the garage, like I already spent 2 hours making a video today on overtraining on purpose. Okay, so make sure you guys watch that video if you're watching this right now. Make sure you watch that after you stop tuning in here. But the bottom line is that, yeah, the Olympia this weekend, I thought that Ramy probably, like, he would have taken it easily. Honestly, he would have totally crushed Phil if Big Ramy had some of the back detail. I think if he had the back detail, he would have killed him, no problem. So Big Ramy, yeah, I think why Big Ramy lost is that he just didn't have the back detail in the back, because he had way more mass. Like, it's called bodybuilding, right? It's not like a beauty contest. So he should have really won, except for the fact that he didn't really pull it together symmetrically speaking in the upper back. Yeah, Quinn Miller, bodybuilding, like 18-inch arms doesn't mean anything, just so you know. I mean, some of my aunts had 18-inch arms, but they're at like 30% body fat or 40% body fat. So, so don't worry about the inches. Worry about quality muscle. Don't worry about the inches quite so much. Okay. So that's the best advice I can give you. Go onto my other videos, how to build arms and all that. I tell you all the tips on there. So that's probably the best place to go. So back to Big Ramy. Yeah, I think that he's definitely a shoo-in. But who do I want to win? That's the thing. Okay. And who I think is going to be the winner out of all these guys up on stage, based on, and you guys probably already know, if you're fans, and as much as I disagree with the lifestyle of the Olympia type scenario, there are some pretty neat guys that are in there, and I think that Cedric Mcmillan is a quality dude. That guy is going places. I mean, if he quit the Olympia stage now and just started learning how to act, he has the Rock type of personality, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has that personality, that star power. That guy is going to be a superstar. If he gives the judges just a reason to put him in first place, he's such a good ambassador for the sport. I think that it'll be hands down. If it's close between him and somebody, they're giving it to him. And the fact is that Cedric, you know, I don't know if you guys know much about him or if you've been watching any of his posts or anything, but he is a really neat, nice guy. Like, he seems to have a really good head on his shoulders, all in all. So, hey, Champus, how you doing? See, I'm on European time. That's why I have barely anybody tuning in here. I'm just basically tuning in after my workout, so. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Yeah, I just did a workout in the garage, so I just thought I'd jump on here for a few minutes and see who shows up and who's here. It's showing up that nobody's on here, so I'm getting messages from somebody, so that means that there's somebody on here, so I guess YouTube's glitching out or something. John Doc, bubble guts though. Well, the thing is with the bubble guts, John, I mean, these guys aren't natural athletes, right? So there's a lot of side effects and stuff going on with what they're doing, and you know, this is the primary reason why I disagree with that lifestyle choice. I think it's freaking stupid. But at the same time, I mean, it's the only option for some of these guys that want to make a living in that sport that way, right? That's why I don't compete. You know, competing in natural bodybuilding, there was no living in it. There was no support. So in the end, you have to get a job or do your thing or use, in this day and age, at least you got social media and stuff. You can use that audience at least to follow you on social media and maybe market whatever it is that you're trying to sell, services or whatever it is. You could be a tire salesman and, you know, somehow market your tire sales or something like that. So in this day and age, it's a little bit easier to make a living, and I think some of the promoters actually take advantage of that because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I think Flex Lewis only got like $30,000 or $40,000 to win first place in the 212 and under division. So that's pretty amazingly sad. I can't believe it, you know. Quinn Miller, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, you're in Nebraska. Nice. Yeah. No, it's pretty late here too. It's like 11 o'clock, 11 or 10 after 11, because I already did some legs earlier today, and then I just did some upper body right now. So in Taiwan, how you doing, Ivan Lin? Okay, so Jay Mullen, don't you think Cedric gets shunned by his physique? I don't know what you said there. There's a typo. So just tell me what you meant by that. Gets something for by his physique? I don't know what you meant. 220 in Ontario. Nice to see you, all right? Yeah. Harnik Singh. Yes, read your comment. I read it. Yeah. 7:15 a.m. Yes, you're in the UK, right, Champus? Okay, I'm just waiting for this guy to correct his comment here. So, Jay Mullen just... Hey, Harnik Singh, I don't know what's wrong with your knee. You have to go get an MRI on it or something like that. If there's something pinching or something, you might have a meniscal tear or something, I don't know. But if it's not tight quads, like I told you in the comments before, go get some massage on there. Did you go do that? Did you go do that? Probably not, right? So you're asking me again the same question without going to get massage. Go get some massage, go get it looked at, and then from there you can start taking some steps, right? But it's impossible for me to just answer your comment and say, oh, this is what's going on with your knee, especially seeing as I'm not a doctor. And second of all, I can only just throw out theories of what might be going on, but I don't know for sure, right? But if your knee is relaxed and you're hyperextending it, when you put it up on a stool or something like that, you might have some sort of ligament pull, or you might have some muscles that are knotting up improperly behind the knee, and that's causing some sort of pinching. So there's lots of stuff that can be going on. Holland, nice. Shunned. Jay Mullen, why do you think Cedric will be getting shunned for his physique? His physique is unbelievable. Like, I mean, he's on a 6-foot frame, 280 pounds. I mean, and looks pretty aesthetic. Like, he's got a really nice look. I think the biggest thing with him, like, he won the Arnold Classic, right? So I think the biggest thing with him is that he's got, like he said, he has a tendency to have some thick skin or something, so he can't get that real papery, thin skin look. So he's not looking quite as lean as some of the other guys on stage, even though he's got the real nice symmetrics and posing capability and overall package. So I think if he can pull that together, I think honestly, like, it kills me. Some of these guys I'd love to talk to because... Politics too, John. But some of these guys I'd love to talk to because I'd be able to help them out. I'm positive. I mean, I know they have some experts around them, but sometimes, you know, like, some people don't understand food allergies and how that can make a difference. Like, they could be eating the wrong type of meat, and then that would cause them to retain a little bit of water, and that might actually affect how lean they are on stage. So they should be getting food allergy tests and stuff like that. So I don't know. He's probably already done all this because he's got some of the top guys in the business consulting with him, but these are things that I consider for sure if he's not able to get that last little bit of leanness going on. Champus, hey Bolo, have you ever done lying down bicep curls? No, I'm not that lazy, Champus. I'm not that lazy. So no, I don't do lying down bicep curls for a couple reasons. One of the reasons why is that in a gym, usually it's pretty dirty on the floor, so I don't want to be laying on the floor. Second of all, I never really felt the need to, although I think that there could be something to that. I'll try them out anyway, just for fun, because laying down, you know, you're getting that last little bit here. I think there could be something to that. But no, I never built biceps with that exercise, if that's what you're asking. Yeah. And quit being so freaking lazy, Champus, because, you know, honestly, get off your ass and actually stand up once in a while. I think you should. Okay, so Donovan's saying he has back problems, he can't squat or deadlift heavy. Can you still get big legs? Yeah, you can. You can get big legs you just have to make sure you hit different angles. And I'm not saying that it's one of those things where it's easy because, you know, there's something to be said for squats and deadlifts because you have enough stability and instability. It's like a nice blend. You're not too unstable, so that way you can really fire those prime movers. You're not so busy balancing, right? But at the same time, you can basically get some of those stabilizers in, right? So I find deadlifts and squats really great. But the thing is that if machines don't bother your knees, such as leg presses and hack squats and all that, yeah, you can do all those types of things for sure. But ideally, what I would recommend if you have back problems, and I did a video on this, how to build legs if you have a bad back. I actually did that, lower back pain, how to build legs. Doing a lot of one-legged movements, one-legged squats on a Smith machine, step-ups, leg presses or one-legged leg presses. All these types of movements are something I would highly encourage you to do. And that would really help you build those legs up because you can really take them to failure, but you're not using any sort of hip extension or anything. Now, ideally, you want to use some hip extension when you're doing squats and stuff because that you know, this bending over movement, see this is your bum and your hip, right? And this is your head. When you're bending over and then you're coming up, you're actually getting that hamstring contraction and you're firing a quad at the same time, so you're getting a lot of activation all at the same time. So because you won't be getting that as much, you may have to incorporate a little bit more variation into your training to make sure you are hitting the legs fully. But one-legged squats and walking lunges are unbelievable for building legs. So can you build legs? I think you can still build legs for sure. I never do sled pulls, John Doc, because first of all, I don't want to scrape up my driveway. And yeah, I just don't see the point. Not to say that they're not good, again, because they're about hip extension. So say I'm pulling on a sled and I have a waist or a belt around and I'm pulling, I'm going to be getting a lot of hip extension type stuff, a lot of glute and a lot of hamstring and a lot of calf. So I think it could be still a good exercise. It's just that sometimes I like to do exercises that are kind of convenient at the same time rather than setting up something and then going outside and swinging around a parking lot and stuff. Sometimes I just like to kind of, I don't know, just do the things that I'm comfortable with and sometimes work with you know, in a certain area, like space and stuff, but if I have to run back and forth in parking lot, sometimes it's not so convenient, so I don't do it. Farmer's walk for traps? Yeah, I guess so. I never did it my whole life, but like I said in my video, you know, shrugs for traps, I never did shrugs either. I always did like just a lot of heavy bent over rows and stuff. Although now I'm doing heavy shrugs, so if you guys want to watch the video I just made today on overtraining on purpose, okay, that's what it's called, you'll see that I'm doing some pretty heavy shrugs in that one. And the thing is, I am getting some trap development from it. It is actually working, but it's just a matter of whatever you feel comfortable with based on your limitations, such as injuries, how your body recovers, what you feel comfortable in the joints and all this kind of stuff. So you have to kind of take all these into account. But I don't think there's such thing as a wrong exercise unless it's really jarring your joints, you know? Orion Corral, push-pull legs is ideal for natty bodybuilding. I don't think so. I think that's absolute bullshit, to tell you the truth. Where do you get this from? Like, why is that the thing that's ideal for natty bodybuilding and not, say, the programs that I do, which is, again, natural bodybuilding. So I happen to win every contest there is to win with that type of program. So why are you saying the program you're saying is the best for natural bodybuilding? Like, what makes that the milestone of programs? Why is that the only way to train? I'll wait for your comment. Champus, what's the best back exercise for, okay, the best back exercises I find are bent over dumbbell rows, bent over barbell rows, and of course that's more for back thickness and you will get some width, and then of course the lat pull down and the chin depending on what variation you do, but that's really what I rotate back and forth. I do all those things, and then once in a while, and no pun intended, back and forth, and then once in a while I will go to a machine and do something too, right? So the thing is, doing machine type stuff sometimes will give your lower back a break. So sometimes I also will like to do inclines. Like say I'll be on an incline, I'll lay down on the incline, and then I'll do some dumbbell rows. And doing dumbbell rows will give my lower back a break. So say I did heavy squats or Romanian deadlifts or something like that. Then at the same time I can concentrate just pulling with the lats and not the lower back being the weak link in the exercise. So it is good to kind of go back and forth. Okay, so Ryan, okay, good. But before you say the best, okay, because that's like kind of like saying, it's like kind of like being a fanatic, Ryan. Do you understand what I'm saying? when you say this is the best one for natural, you're saying that's the only one. And it's the same type of bullshit that I've basically been trying to dispel on this channel the whole time, because there is no one way. There's the way that works for you in any one moment, and it doesn't mean, okay, good. So it doesn't mean that what's working for you doesn't work. I'm saying, yeah, sure, that does work. But when you say it's the best, and then you come up with a justification for natural bodybuilders, that's not necessarily true. I found the 2-day split was the best for me. I found doing 3 days, splitting the body into 3 days, wasn't necessarily the best most of the time. So what I'm trying to say to you is that there is no best. There is the best for you in any one moment, and you may find that you will be eating your words once you become more advanced in 2 or 3 years and say, oh my God, now maybe this 3-day sort of program isn't the best anymore for me. Maybe something else needs to happen. Maybe I need to do a different program. So what I'm trying to encourage you to do on this channel is to be fluid in your thinking and not be too fanatical or stuck in one way, because there's the way that doesn't injure you, of course, and there's the way that you've discovered works. Yeah, I want you to stick to that as much as you can, but don't get so stuck in your ways that you won't adapt or change things in case you need to. That's really my point. So that's why I kind of shoot down when anybody says, you know, this is the best, the only way, and then they say for natty bodybuilders. It's like, listen, I find natty bodybuilders seem to do better with a higher frequency type training. So if you look at what you've done, you've actually increased your frequency from a bro split. That's what you did. And I'm saying increase it some more, and you might even get more results. You never know until you try, right? So you have to kind of push the boundaries and find out exactly what that is. And sometimes it changes. Sometimes a bro split's better for you, sometimes it isn't, depending on where you're at in your development and where you're at with your muscular development and your training and what your muscles want to respond to at the time. It's not always the same thing. So yeah, you want to have that fluid mind, you know what I'm saying? Venkatesh Ramaya, have I tried raw eggs? Yeah, I used to have them in protein shakes once in a while and stuff like that, but I don't think you need to have them. Sometimes eggs don't seem to really agree with me that much, though. I find my stomach doesn't really like them too much. I kind of get that rock in my stomach for a long period of time, so I don't really like to eat eggs that much. Although I like the taste of them, but they don't seem to digest that well for me. Harnik Singh, no. On my 2-day splits, do you take a rest day after 2 days of training? No, you train about 5 to 6 days a week, and you take 1 day of rest a week or 2 days if you need it. Now, if you find you're so sore all the time, then yeah, you can take more days off. So I encourage you to kind of go with the flow and find out what works for you. But the way the program is designed is for you to train 5 to 6 days a week. Yeah. Donovan Hossie, I've talked about this a lot. Should you work out a muscle when you're still a little bit sore? If you haven't watched the rest of my videos, Donovan, you'll get a massive amount of information from them. There's about 300 of them now or more. And look under the video section, and under playlists, I've got how to train different body parts, or just uploads, and you just go through that entire list. I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot. And yeah, training when you're a tiny bit sore, tiny bit tight is actually a good thing. I find if I'm absolutely totally recovered for at least a day or two, it's almost like you recover, you gain muscle, gain muscle, gain muscle. Then once your soreness is kind of dwindling, then you start to come down again, and then you start to lose muscle, lose muscle, lose muscle, lose some glycogen from the muscle. Very subtle, it's a very subtle thing, but I found that there's a critical drop-off point where if you train before that, you seem to get better gains than waiting too long. So everybody knows if you just train once a month, you wouldn't get any gains, right? You know, unless you're, of course, you know, absolute endomorph or something. So you got to kind of find out what that is for you, and going by feel will guide you. You know, feeling your body and taking in this information will guide you in what you need to do. So a tiny bit sore is a good measurement of when to train again. Just a tiny bit, not too much, just a tiny bit, right? Tiny bit tight. Harnik, how much protein do we need to take for good muscle growth? I'd say about 1 gram per pound of body weight of lean mass. So say you're a 200-pound guy and you're 20% body fat, that's about 150 to 160 grams of protein a day. I think that would be a good amount of protein for you to take in. That's a good place to start anyway. Okay, so Ivan Lynn, I didn't really, like, you know what, I was meant to bring my laptop in here because I don't know the guys' names and stuff. And I know that Chris, was he the white guy with a really good look? You know, the one with that Sean Ray was talking about. He had a really great look and stuff. I think he should have, you know, out of second and first, I think the guy that took second should have probably taken first. But I didn't really see the entire division. I only saw like the highlights, right? So, but yeah, he had a much better overall look, I think, you know, as far as physique and everything goes. Donovan Hossey, do I believe that deadlifts thicken a waist? No, but ice cream does. Okay, I'm just going up here. Andrew Brewer, yeah, full body, high volume every second day. You know, you could do that too. I mean, you can do that. That's sometimes I find the high volume and full body and stuff gets a little bit too much. So by the time I get to the gym after taking a day off, it's almost like I'm cringing just to go in there, because it's almost like leaving your homework to the last minute and then like, oh, I got to do all this shit all at once. So I don't really like working out that way. I find small amounts of stimulus are the best to get the body to kind of to adapt, right? And constantly reminding it. You know, when I was personal training in the gym and working in gyms, I get these little workouts in, little pumper workouts in between clients and stuff, and then I get my major workout in. This is when I started to stumble across this amazing anabolic sort of ability of the body when you constantly remind it, along with feeding it the food it needs, right? So as long as you're getting it to sleep, the food, and then you're giving little workouts and stuff. They don't have to be super intense, but I find that sometimes doing these higher frequent type of reminders to the body seem to work better than saving it all up and going balls to the wall, right? That shit might work for beginners and stuff. I find beginner type guys, or guys that have only been training 4 or 5 years, it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to get some results, right? But I find that once you get to an elite level, you know, once you're at 95% of your genetic potential, at that point you'll notice that there may be some different sorts of tweaks you need to do to your training program. Donovan Hossey, is there anything wrong with opting for red meat rather than chicken or fish? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that red meat, of course, has more fat and everything like that. And it depends on how you cook it and what you do with it and what type of cut you use and all this. So you might notice that you're getting a little bit more fat than you need, depending on how much carbs you're taking in and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, the protein's just as good, yeah. Again, it's going to boil down to how your body adapts, right? Because not everybody digests the same food the same way, depending on our genetic lineages and all this kind of stuff, right? So I find that chicken and red meat works really well for me, and some fish here and there. But if I eat like eggs and stuff like that, I find that I never feel right. And whey protein, I can have whey protein, but I also notice that whey protein kind of, it doesn't bloat me or anything, but I kind of feel like there's a rock in my stomach sometimes if I have too much of it. So whey protein is good for me to have on a diet because it helps me curb my appetite a bit. But it's not really the ideal protein source for me, I find. I find chicken and red meat and some fish is the best thing. Okay, so Venkatesh Ramaya is saying, hey, is deadlift overrated? Since I had back surgery, can you skip deadlifts and not miss it? Yeah. Okay, so basically you're asking if you had... if you can skip deadlifts. Yes, you can. Deadlifts are totally overrated. For bodybuilding, they're extremely overrated, honestly. Lifting a weight from the floor, you know, at a dead stop is absolutely totally overrated because each person has different joint lengths and stuff, right? So I find like when my arms are pretty short, right? In comparison to my femur and in comparison to my lower back and everything. And I looked at, you know, Ronnie Coleman. Sorry, my eyes are burning here. I looked at Ronnie Coleman, right, Mr. Olympia. When he would deadlift from the floor, he'd be like this, and then his arms would be reaching the floor, and he'd pulling that weight off the floor. When I deadlift, I'm like that. Like, I have to be almost like parallel to the floor. So obviously, there's a lot more stretching going on in my lower back and my hips, and different people are built differently. So I find it's absolutely, totally useless to do a powerlifting deadlift for bodybuilding, because the problem is that if you overtrain the lower back so much that you can't even train squats or can't even do the leg stuff, it starts to work against your bodybuilding goals instead of with them. It's just that there's this obsession, this big pissing contest going on the internet, and deadlifts is like an easiest way to measure whether you're more alpha or better than somebody else. So they lift a weight from the floor and they're like, look, see, I lifted it, and it's easy to measure, right? Because, you know, everybody else has got different things. If you squat, they're like, oh, did you go parallel? Did you not? Or, you know, so deadlift is just easy. It's like you lift it off the floor and you lift it right up, and then there you go. Then that's a measurement of 1 rep, right? So I find deadlift is just an ego movement for most people. I find it's just another reason to clang weights off the floor, but it's not necessarily the best movement. It's one of those things that is more based, not as much on strength, but more based on the strength of your joints and your lower back tissue. And if your back and your hips and everything can take the strain, then you can lift the weight. But it's not necessarily a measurement of strength. You understand? Like, it's kind of like just because a car has a big engine in it and it can go fast, That is one measurement. That would be a measurement of strength. But if somebody doesn't have the transmission to support that strength, does it mean that they're less weak? Or does it mean that they're less strong? Does it mean that they're weak? No, they're not weak. It's just that they don't have the transmission to do it. So when you're deadlifting from the floor, some people just don't have the transmission, okay? They just don't have the lower back integrity or the ligaments or the discs to deal with that overwhelming amount of stress. And it gets exponential the more you bend over in order to lift that weight. So do you need to do it? No. Is it a great movement for some people? Yes. But there's nothing wrong with doing rack deadlifts instead or Romanians. Okay, Orion Corral. It depends on what type of surgery you had. You said you just had surgery 3 days ago and you probably won't be able to lift for 4 weeks. That's nothing. I've given up lifting for several weeks before when I dislocated my shoulder for one time. You know, that was 4 weeks without training, 5 weeks actually. There's times where I have broken bones and everything. Yeah, you'll be fine. I mean, don't worry about it. The gains come back so quick. It's just glycogen loss more than anything. You might not make progress, but you're not going to lose anything. So don't worry about it. Just take the 4 weeks off and enjoy yourself. Play some video games or whatever it is you're going to do. Watch a lot of natural Gallant bodybuilding videos. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, but you're not going to lose anything. 4 weeks is nothing. John Doc, yeah, I tried pea protein. I tried, pumpkin seed protein, all these types of things. They don't really digest with me either. It's like massive, massive problems with that shit. I don't like it. I like the taste of it, but yeah, it doesn't digest very well for me. Orion Corral, the thing is, yeah, a lot of those guys have some sort of gyno and all that kind of stuff because they're all doing something or not. Okay, let me just rephrase that. I'm not going to say all because I do think there is a potential of some of those guys being natural. There is a possibility to get that level, and I've actually considered competing in physique myself because they're not quite as big as the Olympia guys, although they're still freaking huge. Okay, these guys are still big. But the bottom line is that, yeah, there's a lot of those guys exhibiting those types of side effects and these different problems, and it's just a sign of the freaking sickness of the whole, fitness industry right now, which I totally disagree with, right? But yeah, it's too bad. I think that there's a change going to be coming with some of these deaths that have happened in the industry. I think that this is just going to get worse and worse, and we're going to lose some incredible people, some more of them. It's going to happen. And at some point there will be a change. I don't know how that change is going to come about, but I don't know. If somebody throws himself off a cliff, does it mean everybody else has to do this? And I think that there's going to be some sort of consensus about the stupidity of abusing your body just to get, an extra % body fat leaner or something. Yeah, so let me see here. Yeah, somebody asked me in the comments, actually, just in the video I put up today. They said, Jason, why don't you compete, or do you compete and all this kind of stuff? And it's like, I know I don't have a big resume up on the internet itself, although if you look up my name, you will find me. You will find some of the contests I was in and some video footage and stuff. The thing is that I don't compete because there's just not much of a point. I mean, I love training. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love training. I love getting a pump. I love feeling the muscles. I love the connection of the body. And I love the sculpting and the art of bodybuilding. I really love that. And I do actually love the stage. But what a lot of people don't understand is when you're getting down to 4% body fat, your entire life, just all the creative endeavors, everything you're doing just goes down to this. Doom. Just eat, sleep, train, eat, sleep, train, eat, sleep, train, and then go to the bathroom a lot, because you're always, peeing or whatever because you're not holding any carbs in the body and stuff. And basically for about 4 weeks, your body is just absolutely, it's like a crying baby where you're constantly just paying attention to every single whim, trying to micromanage everything just to make sure you're holding on to as much muscle as possible, getting lean, all this. It's a massive amount of work. And honestly, it just doesn't excite me enough for me to get on stage. There's nothing really for me to get excited about with it because the thing is, as a natural bodybuilder, if I go on a natural bodybuilding show, nobody sees you. Like, there's no credibility to it. Like, nobody sees you, nobody cares, nobody gives a shit, right? There's nobody watching it. And then if I go on an IFBB show, then I'm competing against guys that are going by different rules than I am. And if I win, I get classified in that category and they say, oh, he's not natural. And then if I don't win, then I just look like a guy that just failed at something, so I don't know. It just seems like a stupid game to play for all that effort. So I just don't even bother going there. It's not that I don't have respect for anybody that achieves anything, but yeah, yeah, I think that there's a real efficient way to use your energy, and that's not the most efficient way for me to use my energy at this time. Now, if somebody said, Jason, I'd like you to get on stage and do a guest posing or something like that, I would love to do that. It would be fun for me. I love getting on stage, dancing around, doing music, posing. I like that. But at this point, I'm not extremely excited about getting on stage for competition reasons, right? Rose, J. Mullen, what's the best exercise for lower traps? I would say rowing. John Doc, I don't find it's too unhealthy from a natural bodybuilder point of view. I find that sometimes just losing body fat, it's like almost like a cleanse. I don't find it's unhealthy for me, right? But at the same time, if you're going to be in the IFBB type stuff, the rules that those guys are going by, yes, it's very unhealthy for them. But for a natural bodybuilder, I don't feel it is unhealthy. Some of the guys that are not natural will say, oh, it's unhealthy for everybody. And they'll just say this just because they're trying to make it out like everybody is risking their body by lifting weights and bodybuilding, because they're trying to diminish the negative side effects of what it is they're doing with their lifestyle choices. But I never found that it was detrimental to my health at all. John Doc, no, I won't lose muscle. I wouldn't lose muscle. I'd lose some body fat. I might flatten out a little bit, but that doesn't mean I'm really losing muscle. I'm just losing some body fat and stuff, right? So, yeah. Venkatesh Ramaya, no, protein doesn't put a lot of stress on your kidney. If you have a bad kidney, then protein can put it on there. And sometimes genetically that can be happening, or sometimes you might have kidney stress from other things, right? So there are a lot of times people have problems with their kidneys because of other pre-existing conditions and stuff, and then the protein will exacerbate the situation, but protein itself doesn't do it. Champus, no, I'm not taking creatine. I haven't taken creatine for about 4 years. Yeah, I don't really like creatine too much. I just find I have to pee all the time when I take it, and I just get bloated. It doesn't really... Yeah, I don't like it anymore. I used to like creatine. It used to be okay for me, but for some reason it doesn't seem to do that much for me now. I don't really like it too much. I like branched chain amino acids though. I like the BCAAs here and there. I like that. But yeah, that's it at the moment. That's all I'm taking for supplements. Okay, so Donovan Hosty is saying, how can you tell if you're doing too much? What symptoms should you look for? Well, are you getting results? I mean, you can measure that with basically strength endurance, and I mean, overall month by month, because say you train one day and then you train another day. Yeah, sometimes you won't be as strong because you're still sore from the other day and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the month, or every month or so, you should be going up just a tiny bit, at least in your lifts, or at least one lift. Sometimes only one lift improves, but the other ones don't improve, right? So that's kind of a normal sort of way that the body seems to adapt. It doesn't all of a sudden everywhere get strong at once. So you may notice that you just make mild improvements in certain areas. But if you're starting to get a lot of joint soreness, you're totally just sore by the time you get back to your workout again, then you're either doing too much or you need to basically take more days off or whatever, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can tweak this. You can lower the volume in the workout, so that way you can cater the workout so that you are recovered by the time you work that body part again, or you can take extra days off or change your split up or something like that. Okay, Champo says, only his triceps get sore, but no other muscles. Why is this? Do I ever experience this? There are certain muscles. I did a video on this. Do you need to get sore to gain muscle? And I noticed there are some muscle groups that never seem to get sore. I don't know why. Like my biceps will get tight, but never sore. And my triceps, they'll actually get sore once in a while if I train them really hard. And my chest gets a little tight, but never sore. But my front delts will get sore. My hamstrings will get sore. My quads will get tight and sore. So there's different areas that will just actually adapt differently than others. And it just depends on how you're built. I think it has to do with fast twitch fibers. And it also may have to do with how you are contracting your muscles and whether you are actually hitting them or not as well. Okay, so that's another factor to take into account. So sometimes you're able to contract one area very well and that might be getting sore, but the other areas, it's almost like you're recruiting a lot of different muscles at once. And maybe there's a, okay, let me explain this way. For instance, with my shoulder, because it's you know, a little bit more unstable because of the dislocation injury from hockey and stuff. Because of that, I've noticed I have to concentrate a lot more in making it stable so that way I can fire the muscles properly. But in some exercises, if you have instability in some of the joints and stuff like that, you'll notice that the joint will just kind of slip in and out or slip in a different way, so it takes some tension off the muscle, so the muscle doesn't take the same amount of stress as it could as if the joint was stable, right? So joint instability can lead you to hitting fatigue, like a nervous system fatigue, but not necessarily pushing the muscle so much that the muscle hits fatigue, so the muscle feels like it needs to adapt. So that was something I had to overcome big time when it came down to working out post-injury to the shoulder, because before, certain techniques I was using all the time in order to hit certain muscles, they worked perfectly, but then once my shoulder became more unstable, then the same muscles weren't getting recruited anymore. So that's why I had to change my technique and change things around and stuff like that. So that's a typical reason why you may have to change the way you train sometimes, because sometimes life happens and you know, you need to work with the rules that are given to you in that moment, right? So yeah, that could be also a factor. You may be pushing with your triceps just because there might be something else going on where there's an instability or something or whatever. I don't know what you have in your personal issues or your personal life, or what happened to your body, you know, over the last whatever years. But yeah, these can play a role. But the other thing is also mind-muscle connection. How good is your mind-muscle connection? The other thing is, are you doing reps or are you just doing super heavy weight all the time? Because super heavy weight will give you a different type of tightness than you know, lightweight with lots of reps. You'll get a different type of soreness from that. So experiment with the different rep ranges and see, and experiment with different exercises, of course, and see. Cameron Scholl. Yes, it can have something to do with the muscle fibers in the area as well. It definitely has something to do with the muscle fibers. Slow twitch fibers have a tendency to not get as sore as fast twitch fibers. So when I do one set of, like, I'll share this to you because you guys love to hear about my life and my training because it's so interesting to you, right? If I wave my hands around, it makes it even more interesting. Is that true? I don't know. But anyway, the bottom line is when I do Romanian deadlifts, even if I do them light for sets of 20 or 30 reps, just 225, just doing easy reps, no problem, my hamstrings are freaking killing me for like 3 or 4 days after. It doesn't matter how many times I do them, my hamstrings just get so damn sore. Whereas then when I go to squat, say 3 days later even, I notice my strength is down on the squat because my hamstrings are still recovering from that workout, right? So there are some body parts that have more fast twitch fibers and they just tend to tear down really easily and they take longer to recover. Where the slow twitch fibers, they recover really quickly, but it's really hard to tear them down. So you have to kind of train them differently, which is why I think higher frequency of training sometimes helps hit those areas that you just can't really hit enough. Like even slow, like if you have endurance fibers in a lot of your muscles and then you're doing a big endurance workout, but then you're not training again for another week, that's not going to have the same effect on you as if you're training frequently. Because remember, a muscle that recovers fast, you have to hit it again before it's totally recovered in order to keep it adapting, right? Okay, so let me see here. What's Jim Dano? Hi, mate. Yeah, Jim Dano. Okay, so your joints are. So the thing is, Jim, I know that you. I think it was rugby or soccer. You said you were playing. Was it rugby? And that's why you have bad knees and stuff. You know, the thing is with glucosamine and salmon oil, all these types of things, MSM. Sometimes that stuff can also help. I've talked to you, I think, about prolotherapy. And, you know, those types of things may help actually rebuild the ligaments and tendons in the areas in the knees and the cartilage and stuff. So it's something definitely for you to look at some point. But yeah, I mean, you can also look at changing the types of exercises you're doing, because some exercises, through your own experimentation, you may find that some exercises are actually causing more joint soreness than others. And then you could stick to the ones that are not putting quite so much mileage on there. You know, and you'll just have to experiment from there. Because I've seen guys squat, okay? I've seen guys put their knees or their feet up on blocks to squat to bring their knees forward, and then they always have knee pain. They don't know why. And then they're wearing like Nike Airs, you know, like with a big heel in them and stuff, and they're all unstable and stuff, and then they leave the gym and their knees are hurting. They don't know why. And then they're wearing the knee sleeves and everything. Well, one fix for that. get them to wear flat bottom shoes, get them to push through the hips, not off the knees when they're squatting, and then all of a sudden, no knee pain. Ta-da, right? Another thing is, guys with knee pain, if you see a guy on a hack squat and he's got his back up against the thing, you know, and you go slide up and down, right? And the knees are just going over the toes like crazy, but there's no bend over at all, so there's no hamstring activation. That will crucify the knees. Crucifies them. I mean, I've done hack squats and it just kills the knees because the hamstring's meant to activate with the quad in order to protect the knee. And in most cases, this is what's needed. This is what's needed in most cases for most people, but a lot of people, they have pretty healthy knees. They're not really aware enough to know where the pressure is. They can't really feel the pressure. They don't really know where it is. They just get this random burn that happens in their lower body somewhere because they're so disconnected from their body. But they don't understand that there's this massive amount of pressure in the knee from that. And at some point, the knee just pops, right? So it just depends on how you're built. Sometimes if you're built a certain way, you have to kind of work with that, like I've talked about a million times. And you may be doing something against your own genetic limitations, your own genetics, right? So for years, I couldn't even high bar squat. I had to low bar squat to make sure that bar was low on my back so that way I was bending over and making sure that that hamstring was activated in order for me not to have knee pain. And when I did a high bar squat, it would just crucify my knees. So that's why I never did it most of my life, right? It was always low bar squat for me. So you may have these subtle differences that might be having to be integrated into your training in order for you to get by, right? Ivan Lynn, do I think it's necessary to wear a belt when squatting? No, I don't wear a belt. I stopped wearing a belt back in 1995, I think, or 96. I stopped wearing a belt because I was realizing that I was getting injured in the lower back even with a belt. So I was like, okay, if my back's getting tweaked with a belt on, then maybe I'm developing a back weakness because now every time I'm in the gym, I'm always trying to strain my lower back. And basically your core is not activated by a belt, right? So when you use a belt, you're usually pushing your stomach into the belt, right? So that basically keeps your back arched. But by doing that, when you don't have the belt on, now you don't know how to activate the core, right? The core is getting trained in the opposite way because when you really want to activate the core, what you do is you suck the belly button up close to the spine. You suck that transverse abdominis, that abdominal muscle, you suck it right up to the spine, and that's what helps activate the lower back and helps keep it stable. But when you wear a belt, you do the opposite thing. So if anything, it can actually cause problems, I think. So I stopped wearing a belt years ago. I never wear a belt, and that's it. I just give it up. And if my lower back starts to give me problems or something like that, or if it gets overtrained, then I just change exercise that day, or I go lighter or something, and I listen to it. But yeah, I don't wear a belt. Now, here's the other thing. If you're lifting for a 1 rep max, or a 2 rep max or something like that, then yes, by all means wear a belt. But for training purposes, I don't think it's necessary. Akshay Nair, I have training programs on my website, naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. You can see the different splits that I have on my website. Most of the time I have 2-day splits, different variations, but I also have 3-day splits and stuff like that. So what do I think for bro splits for naturals? Well, if you watch my videos, watch my workout vlogs, you'll notice that you never see me do a bro split. Barely ever. Like once in a while, if I'm just, going to the gym just for social purposes and having fun, then you'll see me do a bro split and 20 sets for a chest or something like that. But it's very rare because I find that my body is already destroyed by the time I've got 6 or 7 or 10 sets in. That tops, that's the most my body part needs. And then I should go on to the next body part. So I'm not saying the bro split is bad. I'm just saying for me, it doesn't seem to work very well. For some guys, it does. So I don't think it's a matter of natural or not natural. I find that the guys that are not natural, anything works for them. That's the thing. It's not really about bro split or not. It's just that anything works for those guys. Honestly, I've seen guys just lift 5-pound, 10-pound dumbbells and gain muscles because they're not natural and they're cheating. So there's all this other stuff going on in their body that has nothing to do with training technique. It just is, they're going to grow anyway as long as they just stimulate the body. I mean, they could take a nap and gain muscle, you know what I'm saying? Where a natural guy has to stimulate his own production of the hormones and get the body stimulated. And the only way to do this is to put weight on the frame, safely of course, but you need to basically challenge the muscles through different rep ranges as well as frequencies, ranges of motion, all these things, right? So, yeah. Champus, all right, buddy. Yeah, and hey, I haven't received a paycheck from you for a long time there, Champus, so don't think I don't know that, eh? So you're no longer my boss. Okay, so John Dock saying, some guys count warm-up sets. It's hard for me to count work sets and no for total sets. Don't worry about it, John. Honestly, when you have, Like I find there's a one way you can actually test this, okay? What I do is I work my body part, but then there's a point to where I find there's a diminishing return, almost like it's like my muscle feels like it's like all numb, where it doesn't have any strength anymore, where just it's very hard for it to push through. You know you're done the muscle at that point. You've totally exhausted it. So there's no point you continuing a workout. You've already stimulated it, told it needs to adapt, and then go further, you know, go on to the next body part or whatever. So that can happen anywhere from 4 sets to 15, 20 sets. It's up to you. But the bottom line is just feel your way into it, and you'll notice that all of a sudden your reps just drop off, like where it's just your coordination's gone, everything's gone. It just is totally exhausted. So when your muscle's exhausted, you know you're done, right? Okay, so inescapable reality. What I'm saying about the hack squat is that it's shit in most cases, okay? Honestly, unless you're built for it. So when your back is facing the pad and you're just sliding up and down and your knees going over your toe, it's shit for most people, honestly, because it brings the stress over the knee. There's no bend over, there's no hamstring activation or very little. So I find it's extremely hard on the knees, and I never had any of my clients do that. I found it was killer on the knees. So you can go deep if you're built for it. So say you're, depending on how you're built with your femur and your tibia and stuff like that, you may notice that your hamstring gets more activated. Now, if you're one of those people where your hamstring gets more activated, then it won't cause as much stress because your hamstring's tight, right? And keeping that knee joint in place. But again, it's gonna depend on how you're built. So I would say hack squat, not necessarily a good idea for most people. I don't like it. I think that's why there's this squat machine that you see Dexter Jackson squatting on and stuff like that, where the machine actually follows you. It's like your pad is up against here, and then it bends you over at the same time as you're straightening the legs. There's a reason for that. The reason why that's there is because a lot of people don't like the hack squat because the things that puts all the stress on the knees and on the medialis, and it is not good for overall quad development, I find. Sorry, there's weird sounds coming from outside. I don't know what that is. Weird. Might be a cat barfing. I don't know. Okay, inescapable reality. Okay, so yeah, the one that follows you like this, like say your back is up against the pad and it follows you and bends you over like that, that basically is going to put a lot of stress on the hamstring. And because when you bend over and in order to extend the hip, your hamstring needs to be tight, it also will pull on here, right, and keep that knee tight. And that will help protect the knee joint at the same time as you're firing the quadriceps, okay? But if you're stuck in a straight sort of line here and then the knee's just going forward and back, just forward and back, right? But you're stuck like this, I find the stress is just so shearing. It's just straight over the knee like that, and it's very unnatural movement. So I find that's really bad for the knees overall. Yeah, and John Doctor coming for me, exactly. I think it's my cat coughing up a fur ball outside or something. Anyway, I don't know. I'll have to go check on him, see what the hell happened there. It was pretty loud. Okay, one more question. Mass gain or whey protein for bulking? I think, you can get away with whey protein. I don't think you really need to get fat in order to bulk. I mean, you could just put enough protein in there to make sure that you're actually recovering. That's really what I recommend. Getting extremely fat is not necessarily the best way to bodybuild. Like eating just tubs of ice cream and stuff. Like if you're gonna have a weight gainer, then why not just do the ice cream thing? Now, here's the thing. If okay, the mass gainer is more MCT oil for fats, then it's not the same as having saturated fats. Okay, it's a different type of fat. It gets burned more like a carb. And if you're burning a lot of calories and you have no way of controlling this because you're doing cardio, you're playing sports or whatever it is you're doing, maybe you're working all day, then I'd recommend a mass gainer because you probably need those carbs and need those calories just to basically replenish what you are forced to burn off during your daily activity, right? Dan the Guitar Man. Probiotics, you know, my brother's a naturopath, and yeah, I think that they're good. I mean, the thing is, I eat some yogurt sometimes, or some kefir once in a while with some blueberries or something like that, so there's some probiotics in there. But yeah, probiotics are supposed to be really good for you as far as just making sure that your gut is healthy and stuff. Now, if you're noticing that you have any sort of candida or yeast or something in your system, then yeah, sometimes your gut can be off. And sometimes when the seasons change, you'll notice that your gut may change. You know, when there's more moisture in the air, there's more moisture in your food, you know, that your system changes. Your body actually adapts to the different seasons and stuff. So yeah, probiotics can help you with making sure that you're digesting your food and absorbing your nutrients in a certain way. Not that I take them that much. I mean, very rarely do I. I just sometimes will have some yogurt or some, you know, natural sort of stuff like kefir and all that, right? H. Laker, yeah, if you play a lot of basketball, that will kill bodybuilding gains for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it doesn't mean that weight training can't give you any benefit. You can still get some benefit, but the fact is that you will not get the same benefit as if you're not playing quite as much basketball. Now, if you're just playing around, you know, and you're not going too intense, then you're probably not going to be not going to have a problem, right? But if you're going super intense where you're really sweating and really just getting out of breath and you're just burning those calories like crazy, yeah, it will hinder your bodybuilding gains. Now, will it be good for your overall fitness? Of course it will, but it's not, you know, you're giving your body two different types of stimulus to adapt to, right? Obviously, it's not going to be better for you to be 300 pounds and run a basketball court and change directions and stuff all the time. So the body's going to know this, and it will make accommodations for that. It will make changes in your body based on that, right? Yeah, no problem. Inescapable reality, no problem, yeah. Yeah, they're subtly different, the different machines. Jim Dano, have I thought of doing a live chat on my other channel? Yeah, sometimes, but I'm not going to, because the thing is, there's just too many, because I'm dealing with people's deep emotional stuff, and, you know, I do sessions for that. I'm not going to give free consultations there, you know, so they need to basically book sessions with me for that if they want that. And in my experience, when people are dealing with their deep emotional stuff, there's a lot of protective mechanisms that come up. So as much as many of the people are very nice and really will want to address their issues, there will be a massive opportunity for a lot of negativity as well, because sometimes people just want to attack anyone that has an opinion that is for their greatest good, you know? So if I say, hey, just face this right now, face your anxiety, they're like, I don't want to face it, screw you, you bastard. And then, you know what I mean? There's this whole drama going on. So basically, I want to, you know, when people put in the effort to come see you, then they usually will also do the work. You know, it's kind of like a personal trainer. When you pay a personal trainer, you'll actually do your work as well. You're not going to just pay a guy and then not do your workouts or stick to your diet, right? So it's kind of like that. So I don't have any plans for that in the future. Okay, so H. Laker, you say natural competitions are mostly fake natties, bro. No, they're not, H. Laker. That's based on your opinion, which is based on bullshit. So I'm just going to call you out on this. I've competed in a lot of natural shows. It's just that there are different types of natural shows, and most people don't know this. Do you understand? Most people don't know this. There are fake promoters out there, promoters that say a show is natural, and then they throw the urine tests out. They don't even test the urine. This has happened, okay? And I'm not even going to mention those types of shows, but there are some of those shows out there. But then there are legitimate shows, like the WNBF shows, which do polygraph testing and urine testing, which is different. Do you understand? There is difference. So don't throw all the natties in the same freaking basket, because you're basically doing a huge injustice by doing that, because there's a lot of guys that I've met that are perfectly 100% natural, and they're not little weasels trying to lie to the world and have this big conspiracy, you know? I mean, shit, it's like, it's really frustrating to see, because the problem is that because of this attitude that's on the internet, there's this mass enabling of drug addiction going on. Okay, because people are like, oh, everybody's doing it, so why don't I, right? And there's this just bullshit, immature thing going on, and that's what's poisoning and killing half the population that's, you know, under 30 right now, because they have this belief that everybody cheated to achieve, so then why don't they do it, right? It's just a stupid thinking that's being perpetuated, and it's not true. So that's my 2 cents, man. And I know just from my own experience, I know myself, I know my brother, I know people that have achieved massive things in natural bodybuilding, and they're totally drug-free. So believe it or not, that's my experience. I've been around for a long time, and I've actually done it. So there are people that cheat in the world, yes, but that doesn't mean everybody's a cheater. Novelty, Life, and Tech. You missed my other channel's videos. I just put up a video yesterday or 2 days ago, and then I put another video up. So did you watch those ones? Novelty? I watched those ones. I mean, I put them up, so if you didn't watch, okay. Okay, H. Laker, but you said most. H. Laker, you said most, okay? And that's not true either, all right? So I understand in some shows you're right. In some shows you're absolutely right, H. Laker, and I agree with you. And I'm not going to mention because I don't want to get sued, but I'll tell you right now, H. Laker, like there are some federations that it would just, you know, you're absolutely totally correct. So much so that it kills me not to be able to tell you who these federations are, all right? Because I competed with many federations and some of them, no, and I'm agreeing with you too, H. Laker. I'm just telling you where I agree, right? So there are some federations out there that were like heavily televised, all this kind of stuff. And then the promoter was actually calling guys, telling them, oh, if you could put 2 inches on your arms in about 3 months, then, you know, I can give you some exposure and all this kind of stuff. So, Novelty, Life, and Tech, my other channel is called Jason J. Gallant. So that's the meditation and spiritual development channel. Okay, great. So the bottom line is that there are some false promoters out there because they're trying to use the natural name in order to, you know, be brand friendly and TV friendly, but at the same time they were not enforcing the rules because it wasn't as marketable, I guess you could say. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I agree with you when it comes down to some of the stuff. There's just some federations that are really, really legitimate and some that aren't, right? So let me just let my cat in because I think he's finished. Well, one cat's out there. There's another one around the corner somewhere puking his guts out or something. I don't know what he's doing, so I gotta go check on him pretty soon here. So hopefully he's all right. I think he's all right. He's probably just a fur ball. Ed McMahon. Hey, so from Isle of, okay, ex-veteran, spinal nerve damage, still training hard. You know, thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad that I've been able to help you out somehow because that's really what I'm trying to do with this channel. It's been really tough to get this sort of message out there because I really enjoy training, and I know all of you guys do. You all enjoy training and working out and stuff, and it's amazing how much fun this stuff can be when you take your ego out of it. You take the mind and the suffering around trying to be somebody that you're not, and just enjoying what you're doing and just enjoying your own improvements and your own fun with this whole thing. It can be a really fun game to play and an excuse to stay healthy and all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, those of you that get what it is I'm doing, thanks for tuning in and thanks for sharing my stuff and helping me out. And some of you are Patreon subscribers, so thanks a lot for that. Any guys that are supporting me on Patreon, that helps me support this content and stuff. So it keeps me in batteries and hard drives anyway, right? I've got over $1,000, maybe $1,500 just in hard drives just to carry the footage, just to make the videos, right? So all this shit just takes so much effort and time and money. But yeah, I'm glad some of you guys are getting something out of it. And thanks, H. Laker. And you know, I'm glad that you guys are just happier with this whole process. And all I can say to you is I'm really just, you know, I'm a meditation teacher, but I'm really actually transmitting this reality that I know to be true through these videos and stuff to you. I'm saying, you know, this actually happens. You actually can enjoy this process. It doesn't have to be a narcissistic sort of obsessive sort of thing, but it can be a game that you play and realize it's just a game and it's just fun, you know? And sometimes when life hits you, you get an injury or something like that, or maybe a surgery like somebody just said earlier in the video. The bottom line is that that's life. It's okay. And you can still enjoy the body anyway and still get back into the training. And, you know, you're building up character in a deeper level, like the power of will. That's really what you're building when you train. You're learning how to build the will muscle. That's the most important one. Everything else is a side effect of that. So when you decide, hey, you know, I can't train that well today, I'm full of pain, but I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do what I can do and feel the burn and go through this immense amount of adversity. You are actually building this willpower, which will transfer into everything. And it is my belief that it will also transfer into well beyond when you drop this body and you go somewhere else or whatever it is that happens to you, right? Depending on your spiritual belief or whatever, right? But the fact is that willpower is really important. And willpower, if it moves in the right direction, will turn into love, man. And it'll turn into a relationship and happy, right? So yeah, self-discipline, H. Laker, that's exactly it. Self-discipline. And I believe it doesn't matter what vision you have, as long as there's relationship with it and not obsession. Like you see all these people killing themselves in the fitness industry right now. They're just absolutely totally destroying themselves based on a mental illness, honestly. A lot of them, they have a mental illness. They're basically obsessive and fanatical and in immense amount of pain. They can't even look at themselves in the mirror and enjoy what's already there and say, oh, maybe I could just, work out a bit and tweak the feeling in the body and tweak how it looks. But they're basically obsessed, willing to actually poison themselves. And that's sad. It's sad. So I'm trying to build something that says, hey, there's something right about bodybuilding. There's something right about lifting weights and training, but it doesn't have to be a sickness like so many people live in North America or all over the world right now. It's become a sickness. And it's not bodybuilding's fault. It's the fault of people not addressing their own emotional pain. So, that's the thing. So that's why I'm doing the other meditation work as well and helping people with that. So, hey, it's all willpower though. It's all about, hey, here we are, man. It's the valley of the shadow of death. That's what this place is sometimes. And, my heart goes out to anybody dealing with tragedy in the world right now because it's a pretty hectic place to live right now. I mean, it doesn't matter whether there's a terrorist attack in Europe or there's something going on with the weather down in Florida and stuff. A lot of people are going through some really hard stuff right now. So, yeah, we're all in this shit boat together, So I'm just trying to do my little part to help people be a little bit happier with their day-to-day life and enjoy being healthy. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for supporting all the work I'm doing, Yeah. So I appreciate it. So yeah, I think that that pretty much covers what I wanted to say tonight anyway. I mean, unless you guys have another question or something. And yeah, may Lord Gaines bless you. That's right. It sounds so Darth Vader-ish in some way, doesn't it? Hey, jeez. I've been playing a little bit of Battlefront on Star Wars there and on the PlayStation 4. Man, I'm enjoying that. So if you guys play on PlayStation, my name is Natural Gallant, so you add me as a friend on there, we'll play. So, okay, Cameron Shull, you have a question. I have a question. I have been in a plateau for a while, and my size and strength have stayed the same. I think it's because I've been training at the same frequency in 8 to 12 rep range. Okay, maybe I should change those up and see what happens and how my body reacts. Of course, Cameron, 100%. You should definitely change your rep ranges up. You should definitely go heavier one day and then totally light, like 25 reps other days. 100% you're on the right track with that. Or you could consider getting my programs and the rep range is already laid out for you, so you can consider doing that too. But yeah, changing your rep ranges would definitely help, 100%. It makes a big difference because if you're only working one muscle fiber type or one pathway all the time, you will hit a plateau and then it's necessary to pump the blood in there and hit those other muscle groups that you haven't been hitting, right? So, all right, so up the weight, shock the body. Yeah, definitely, up the weight and shocking the body here and there is good too. But of course, you can only go so heavy and shock the body so much before you shock it into injury, right? So there's a balance there. So H. Laker, you're on the right track there. But yeah, I think heavier weight and lighter weight, just change it all up, right? So yeah, so H. Laker, yeah. So you got an Xbox, okay? So yeah, but Battlefront is fun. But anyway, it was great talking to you guys tonight anyway, and thanks a lot for tuning in. Sorry I didn't give you guys any heads up and stuff, but if you haven't joined the Facebook group, go on Facebook and join the Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Facebook group, and I'll be putting posts up there as well from time to time. And like I said, you can support me on Patreon if you want to, or visit me on my website, naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. Yeah, thanks, Jim Dano. I hope what I said to you helped. Let me know if you find some solutions to your problems or whatever, or send me an email, okay? My programs last forever. They last, you can do them for 3 to 4 weeks or 3 or 4 months on the same program, Cameron, if you want. It doesn't matter. All right, H. Laker, have a good one. Yeah, thanks, John Doc. Thanks, guys, and thanks, H. Laker. And make sure you guys tune into the video that I made today, which is overtraining on purpose. So you might get something from that too. And that may help you blast through a few plateaus, just understanding that principle of what it is that I do from time to time with my training. All right? Well, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. And yeah, I'll be doing this again this week sometime. I know I don't give you guys an exact schedule. It's kind of like a surprise I kind of try to do for you guys once in a while. So, but thanks a lot. And blessings to all of you, man. I hope you guys all get big and strong and happy and all that kind of shit and pain-free. So take care, all right? Okay, have a good one.